California's fire season is not just about fighting wildfires in the mountains. Cities and counties across the state are reporting a growing number of fires related to homeless encampments. NTD's Cynthia Kai reports.
Cities and counties across California are seeing an increase in homelessness. Oakland-based Seneca Scott, founder of an organization aimed to address the homeless crisis, says the situation is complex.
Homelessness started with the economic collapse in 2008. It was exacerbated by policy, another economic collapse in 2020, and complete ineffective leadership, failed progressive policy, permissiveness of open-air drug zone, and housing first as a failure.
According to Oakland's biannual point-in-time count, the city has over 5,000 homeless individuals, compared to the 2,700 in 2019. But the increase in the homeless population is leading to another problem. The city is also seeing an increase in fires related to homeless encampments. So according to city data, there's on average 3 fires per day related to homeless encampments. And this is an increase from the 1 per day 2 to 3 years ago. What's causing this increase?
Well, it's a lot of reasons. First is we've had a 3-fold increase in our homeless population. So conventional wisdom would suggest that the fires would increase proportionately, and they have.
Oakland firefighters responded to 61 encampment fires in March and 53 in April this year. Between 2017 and 2020, Oakland Fire responded to nearly 1,000 fires at encampments. Scott says the fires result from 4 main causes.
What I can say from experience is that these fires happen for a variety of reasons. One is people trying to stay warm. And they fall asleep with a candle. Candles are what people use primarily to heat their tents. Candles are also primarily what people use sometimes to heat their drugs.
He says when people fall asleep, the lit candles can lead to a tent accidentally catching fire. Some encampments also become open-air drug zones, and fires have become routine in these areas. Of the 4 main causes, Scott says 2 are intentional.
Arson, people blowing up and destroying cars that have been used for crimes and robberies, happens all the time. People steal cars, then after they're done with whatever they're doing, they torch the cars.
Video footage has shown cars and RVs burning in encampment areas underneath Interstates 580 and 880. But the last reason is contrary to policy meant to help the homeless.
And the last is people set this stuff on fire on purpose because you hit a check and another chant from Red Cross or another nonprofit.
He says if someone really needs money, they will just burn their tents. Encampment fires are not just happening in Oakland. The city of Los Angeles reported a similar 3-fold increase of encampment fires in 2021. According to a Los Angeles Times report, LAFD responded to homeless-related fires at a rate of 24 per day during the first quarter of 2021. This made up 54% of all fire cases. NTD reached out to the Los Angeles Fire Department for comment. Meanwhile, in other parts of the state, Kern County's fire department reported that 39% of fires in November and December 2021 were attributed to homeless persons. The department estimates about 44% of fires since January 2022 can be attributed to suspected or known homeless people. Just earlier this month, Chico firefighters put out a homeless campfire that spread to vegetation just feet away from a neighborhood. Back in Oakland, Scott took us for a drive around an encampment site that stretches nearly a mile on Wood Street.
It's like a third world.
Worse.
Third world.
Worse. I've been all around the world.
They have Toyota.
I've been in slums in India that were not this bad.
Scott told us newer-looking cars often belong to drug dealers in the area. Burned houses can also be found nestled between other homes. But he said there is a solution. The city council approved and adopted the encampment management policy in 2020.
We just tried to make it work. Here's a list of do's and don'ts, and you cannot have any encampments 50 feet from businesses, schools, residences, or critical infrastructure, and we're going to follow that. The work's already been done. We just need some follow-through.
But the city hasn't followed through with the plan. Scott is one of the candidates running for Oakland mayor and hopes for more accountability in the city. He also hopes officials can follow through with existing planned solutions. Cynthia Kai, NTD News, California.
Several groups are speaking out against legalizing drug injection sites. They warn that it would pave the way to legalizing all drugs. NTD's Eileen Ang reports.
During a virtual press conference, leaders of multiple organizations voiced their strong opposition to Senate Bill 57, also known as the Controlled Substances Overdose Prevention Program.
The data show that drug deaths increased over the same period that they expanded supervised drug consumption sites.
Senator Scott Wiener introduced the bill, and the California Senate passed it last April. The intention is to create drug consumption locations that will have medical staff on site to avoid people overdosing. The sites are to be established in San Francisco, Oakland, and Los Angeles County. But opponents say the injection sites only make it easier and encourage people to use drugs even if they are not at a site.
I've gone out to say, look, there's a safe injection site literally 5 blocks away. Why don't you just go there and use that site? And they don't want to go that far. They said, why? And I get it, because when they have drugs in their hands, they're going to use it.
Moreover, the injection sites always becomes a magnet for drug dealers, drug addicts, robbers, and the like, hurting the nearby communities seriously.
They highlighted the now failed Tenderloin Linkage Center in San Francisco. It was designed to keep the open drug scene contained in an area, but instead has spread across 2 neighborhoods. The goal was to link people to drug recovery, but that part of the center has been shut down after roughly 4 months of operation because very few people received help.
The whole program is contrary to how they do it in Europe. In Europe, they pressure addicts engaged in dysfunctional, inappropriate behavior. They do not normalize drug consumption in those European cities. San Francisco is normalizing hard drug use, open-air drug dealing, and public camping as somehow normal behaviors that should be expected from people using hard drugs.
And the reason so much attention is being drawn to it recently is because of the deaths of folks that, come from well-to-do families. And it's tough because they're turning to these things to inject drugs like heroin. Obviously, they start with the opioid epidemic, and they switched over to heroin because heroin is much cheaper. So it's being involved, it's being engaged in fighting it.
A hearing for SB 57 is scheduled on June 1st.
A 3-day Star Wars celebration is happening in Anaheim, California. It began on Thursday with a special event for upcoming Lucasfilm television productions. On Friday, the first episode of a new series starring Obi-Wan Kenobi launches online. And NTD's Andrew Thomas has the details.
Ewan McGregor stars and executive produced Obi-Wan Kenobi and explained why he reprised the role from the prequel films without there being a script.
It wasn't that they sent me a script and I said yes or no to it. We sort of developed the story together to a degree. It was going to be a movie at one point. Deborah Chow then came on and it became a TV series, and so with Deborah's brilliant direction, we ended up, I think, with a really good story,
Also retaking his role is Hayden Christensen, although now he is Darth Vader instead of Anakin Skywalker. This meant the Canadian actor had to don the iconic black suit for the role.
I mean, it's such a incredible costume and such an iconic costume that you put it on and you can't help but feel that, and then certainly walking out on the set and sort of seeing people's reactions. That's always been good fun, and I've always really enjoyed that part of it.
The second television series soon to be launched is Andor, which follows the history of Cassian Andor from the film Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Although the character died at the end of the film, he lives on again in 2 seasons of Andor, which is set to start streaming in August. The character is played by Diego Luna.
I mean, I love the character, man. I would play this character for a long time if possible, because I really find a strong connection with this role. I think this role reminds us what we're capable of. You know, it's about the people taking control. It's about you understanding that what matters to you might matter to others.
Aside from a poster and an appearance from Harrison Ford at the Lucasfilm panel, there were few film projects being showcased, while TV projects remained in the spotlight. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.